Morning, everyone. See some people popping in. Good to see some familiar faces and some new names as well. Hope you guys are doing well. It is another great day to be in CX, right? For all of us, or customer service, or any of those things facing, doing customer facing work. So happy that you were joining us. As a reminder, this is one of our kind of weekly series. It's called the Solution Series, and in these sessions we have uh, three partners and panelists who are coming in and really talking about hot topics of the day, opportunities to understand. As we've discussed around why we kind of calling CX on the rocks, there are challenges right now. Things are changing really fast, and some obstacles, whether it's driven by AI or everything else. But we're definitely here to uncover those challenges and opportunities and drive change with you and in partnership with you. But the Solution Series is really, while we have content to talk about, it's about you asking questions, bringing up your own thoughts about the hottest topics and what to talk about these days. So with me today, I've got JP Dumas, who is from Dallas. I got Matt Egol and Tamar Cohen. They are going to join us and talk a little bit about some great topics today, kind of CX and culture. Matt is unfortunately on a hot spot, so we're hoping we get him in video and audio really well. But otherwise, we'll definitely continue to go there. So to that, Matt, let's test out that Wi-Fi and hotspot right away and see. Introduce yourself and talk a little bit about today, and then we'll have JP and Tamar do the same. And there he went. JP, jump in.
And there he went. Yeah. So here we are, everyone. Well, first of all, thanks for taking this time out of your day to speak with us. I'm JP. My specialty, obviously, is CX, but I like to go deep on employee engagement and culture, which is why you all are here today. Number of years in this business. Love digging deep here, as well as talk about contact centers and all that stuff. But we've got a wonderful show for you today. And I'm going to pass it over to Tamar, who's our newest superhero in our CX on the Rocks collective. So to tell you a little bit about what she does and why you're all here.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here. So my background, Tamar Cohen, I head up a company called Halo Effect. My background is in customer experience and then most recently in employee experience. So I really focus on building those cultures and how do we create those intersections to make sure that employees are empowered and educated and engaged enough so that they can deliver on the customer transformations that we're all looking to get, because I think we would all agree that if the employees aren't ready or enabled to deliver on the work, it's very hard to consistently get those CX outcomes that we're looking for. So that's the area that I focus
on. All right, thank you very much. So either JP or Tamar, let's talk a little bit about the topic for today.
I'll go ahead and jump in just to tee it up. So we've all talked about AI, but how does AI work within the world of culture and strategy? And that's what we're here to really unpack. We want to hear from you all. We've got a few questions that we'd like to ask about your experiences, and more importantly, how we can help and accelerate either adoption, understanding, or strategy as it pertains to your culture and strategy. Tamar, anything you'd like to add before we jump in?
No, I think just more than anything, it's, really an exciting time. And I think a lot of people are thinking about and using AI in so many different ways. So this is really, I think, an opportunity for us to all learn from each other how to bring this in.
So the key focus here is AI is intended to improve our productivity. It's designed to improve our workforce, optimize experiences, so many things that have been promised around AI. Now, no surprise, we've also seen some early studies that say it may not necessarily be hitting the mark. And, there's a MIT study out there that says 95% of AI productivity gains have not materialized. And there's some discussion about the studies and whatnot. But the point being is, as we move away from buzzwords, the key items to ask are, is AI delivering on the promises that's purported to? And so, my first question to the group is, as you've seen your implementation of AI in various forms in your businesses, what sort of time savings have you gotten back?
I can jump in on customer service stuff that I have both experienced and am still working with clients on. Would that be helpful?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the classic call center situation, I found one of the best use cases so far for AI was attended automation on one side and AI on the other to complement AI via a chat bot or driven answers, like a knowledge source. And that actually is an accelerator on resources. And my experience is, you don't say this to a room full of people in customer service, you get about a 30% improvement. So the question is, what do you do with that 30% improvement? And you get it through the speed and the cycle time that they're able to spend with the individual client, both by having the attended automation to get them the answers and the chat bot pulling up where they can get answers to the questions themselves when they're doing it manually. So that's just a case study. I've seen a version of that over and over. And I think the 30% number, although it sounds like it's about right. It's somewhere between 30, not as high as 40. I haven't seen anything as high as 40, and it's definitely better than 20. So 30 is what I've seen. So that's an example.
So let me unpack that a little bit, Chris, to make sure I understand, and then also for the audience. Are you saying that from a knowledge-based perspective, the human agent is getting information faster because AI is pushing it to them?
Two ways that I've seen, but both of which are functioning. One, the agent using the knowledge base, once the knowledge base is built in an LLM, they're able to get to the answers very quickly. So instead of swivel chair computing, bouncing around trying to find the answer to the question, it's already been dumped into a knowledge base and they get quicker answers. So that's both a higher customer satisfaction score because they get the answer quicker, and it's an efficiency score, right? Because they get the answer quicker, right?
Yeah.
So they're both the same things. And then the other one is the attended automation, where the actual tool, and this is NICE, if anyone is using NICE,
Yeah.
does a great job of this, right? So
Yeah.
NICE can listen into the calls. It can look at the phone number coming in. It can do record reviews in advance to find anomalous transactions with customer support. It can preemptively suggest these are probably the topics they're calling about and give them suggested scripts to give in response. I've only seen one super mature implementation of that, and then I've seen a couple of lesser implementations, all of which go somewhere in the 30% productivity increase. And I think the sky is the limit. You can go far beyond that.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a great example because what I hear is we're going to know a little something about you when you engage with us. So that speaks to that personalization. So we're going to kind of give the human an opportunity to start the conversation, not at the beginning, but somewhere in the middle.
And you euphemistically said know a little bit about you. The truth is you're going to learn a ton. You're going to know a ton about them.
Dave, the other piece of that is not only knowing a little, but we say that you're going to know a lot, but there's also this whole sense of now you have the information that you need and you can move that along. And so not just fixing things in that moment, but I would imagine there's some first call resolution related to that simply because we got the information quicker. So that whether it's 20% or 30%, that's a win from an AI perspective. So the question is, what does that look like at scale if you have hundreds or thousands of team members who all of a sudden get 20 or 30% faster in their business? That's millions of dollars. Well, great example. Hey, Matt, we got you back. Welcome.
Yeah, it's been having all kinds.
The second piece is, unless anyone has anything to add, I'd really like to understand how are we using AI to better prepare or better develop our leaders? Because if we're going to talk about culture and strategy, then then leadership has to come into that discussion. So love to hear some examples or ways you've seen AI help accelerate that leadership development journey.
So
Hey.
One of the first use cases where I implemented AI was 2 years ago and really aimed at a leadership audience at first, was just using AI to analyze and optimize call listening. So as leaders, we were spending an inordinate amount of time pulling calls, good, bad, or otherwise, listening, and then coming to a consensus of how to then use that intel for sales leaders or for service leaders to then do performance coaching, tailor training, all very reactive and all very time consuming. So a tremendous amount of time savings just spent in leveraging AI to not only listen to our calls, but then organize it in a way that sort of uses analytics to optimize what's working, what isn't. It took a while to train the model, right? So we used an external model, but it took a while to train the model to get it to a point where we were then using the reports that a sales leader, for example, the first use case, a sales leader could go in, look at the report for their team, analyze the metrics, tie it back to a specific behavior or customer sentiment or any other metric, call handling time, and then optimize the coaching and training to that analytically derived result. And I'm also a marketer in addition to customer experience, then I was able to leverage those insights to get ahead of what potentially is happening in service and sales to then say, we need a different approach, we need different messaging, we need to adapt our compliance, listening, or correction actions. So productivity gains as well as optimizing our key metrics.
No, I love that example because, oftentimes when I hear about those use cases, particularly call listening, it's always geared towards how do we make our frontline teams better? But by using it to leverage insights, it's about how do we make our organization better, because we take a step back to ask the question, is this an interaction that should have occurred? And is it an interaction that we can monetize or anything like that? So now it's not just leadership from a development at the front line, it's leadership in terms of informing the rest of the organization, which is really where CX has a tremendous opportunity to shift the strategy and, dare I say, culture, because that's our panel today. So no, great example.
I'm curious, and maybe Tamar, this would be good for you, but I think when you think about, and when you're coaching others, I know one of the use cases I've seen is really leveraging AI, let's say a supervisor or a manager, and going through the coaching process using AI, even as simple as ChatGPT, easier said than done, where here's my employee, here's kind of some things about them, help me practice and role play. Have you seen any of that on that EX side of kind of using AI to role play from a leadership perspective to help them, improve their coaching skills?
100%. Yeah, there's actually a product that I'm working with right now. It's basically a performance management and mentoring tool. And what's amazing about it is it allows employees to answer a couple of questions about how they work, what motivates them, what inspires them. And from a manager perspective, they can then see, all right, tomorrow is more collaborative, and so I'm going to make sure the work that she does, is about collaboration and is maybe less tactical individual work. It also allows you, tools like this also then allow you to track over time based on how my employees work, what are these, and the work that they're actually delivering. Are they performing well? Are they satisfied? And you can start applying a lot of different analytics to it. So that's a real-time tool. I did see a question come through asking about the tool. It's a product called Clara Mentor.
Hear you saying is that it's, it can also be used for onboarding. And so not just ongoing training, but for onboarding an individual into your organization?
Honestly, these tools can be used at every stage in the employee journey, and the best tools are the ones that follow and track along the journey from acquire to retire.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. Of course, I look at that because I think about attrition and retention in the same vein, meaning that if you can't retain your employees, you can't retain your customers. And if it's something that will help in that journey, I'm all for it. So you had me at hello. I see Ariel has a hand up.
Yeah. I don't want to complicate things, but maybe if we can take a few steps back, and you were, JP, asking about how AI can help leadership. And I think that leadership first has to clarify within their organizations what are the rules, what are the expectations that they have for their organization and the employees. I think we know about some cases that CEOs have threatened employees of laying them off or firing if they don't use AI tools. And I don't think that we need to get to that situation, but I think that the organization has to organize to train their employees with the advantages, but also that they are very aware of the risk that sometimes using some platforms could bring in terms of revealing or sharing some confidential information.
Yes.
So I think that the organization, before they start implementing or using any AI tools, I think that organizations need to be very clear on how to use them, the risk, and the expectations that the company have in terms of the performance of those employees.
No,
Biggest
great
mistake that
point.
I've seen. Oh, sorry. Not just mistake. The biggest mistake that I've seen, and Arnold, I think you're 100% right, is these platforms and programs get rolled out without the proper change management. The assumption is, we have this tool, we're going to push it out, and people are going to use it, and no questions asked. It has to be treated as any other foundational change. There is the emotional consideration of employees who are worried about how it's going to impact their jobs, their livelihood. Are they able to upskill, reskill as needed? You've got the technical aspects. Are people able to use these new tools effectively? And then there's the just overall marketing to what you said. How do you use this so that you maintain privacy? How is this used so that we're not publicly sharing information that shouldn't be out there? So there is a robust change management that must be a consideration before, right? And that has to start well before anything gets rolled out. So couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's where strategy plays a role, right? Because strategy is having that point of view that says how we'll use AI, and then the structure becomes the governance in terms of here are the guardrails. And so then you can kind of build your business around that. But that's the piece we often forget. Like, start with the strategy and then we'll figure out the rest as we go. So I'm gonna go to Lisa. Lisa has her hand up.
I just wanted to see if anybody else had thoughts about that topic, because I sort of just had a question that's separate. So I noticed you guys were rolling, so I didn't want to interrupt. So if there's
Listen, the floor is yours. You don't want to hear from us. I want to hear from you, right? Like, we'll talk all day. All right.
fair. So I have a little bit, I think, more immature viewpoint than a lot of you, which seem more expert. So my question, I was going to ask a question really rather than make a statement. I see that a lot of you are already using tools. Are these tools that your organization had? Are they things that are built into software or platforms that you have? Something that you got on the side, sort of like I'm I know we were talking about knowledge management. That in and of itself is kind of a large project to create and upkeep knowledge in order to then use AI to leverage that knowledge. So I guess from my perspective, in an organization that's very like new in the AI and even really CX space, I was just sort of curious how that evolved.
I'll give a short answer on this. All of the above. And I say it from this perspective of officially only use tools that are approved by the organization. Uh, Unofficially, it is when we see these productivity hacks, we bring them into the business, which is why, Ariel's point is an important one, because compliance and the information that you have available. We've even seen it in conversations with academics where in their departments, they don't have guidelines per se on the use of AI. And so that lends itself to all sorts of other things around academic integrity, and sometimes is left up to the professors to figure this part out. So there's still a lot of noise around that, because if someone finds a hack that works, they're going to use it. But again, we only use the tools that officially sanction, right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. We definitely have pretty stringent training and things like that on AI. It's just, I've found that that's sort of a huge roadblock in that a lot of our things are like we have tokens, and so we're not using them because it's like too much money, and we're not fully leveraging the AI capabilities that we have in-house. So I was just curious whether they're like, if somebody has Qualtrics and they use the AI that's leveraged in their Qualtrics system, or,
That's right. That's right. Yeah,
That's the most common thing
yeah.
I see is that companies are leveraging the products, AI products within the vendors or the solution providers they already have. So whether that's Salesforce, whether that's, if you're a Google shop, then it's Gemini. If you're a Microsoft shop, then it's Copilot. And I think that seems to be the most common implementation mainly because the businesses don't really know what they want, and then they don't know who the best in class might be independent to go pick. Because I've seen the reverse where people go out and they see something really cool and they see the shiny and then they're like, oh, we want to go do that, and then it doesn't fit. So it goes definitely both ways. But I do see, when I look at the success using something that's native, that's a new product for an existing relationship, I do see greater, at least initial success in that. I think longer term, the flip side of that is, I think a lot of times when a company, has a certain specialty product and they go find an AI tool to try to put in their product, it's not always best in class. And you end up with, longer term, you might end up sacrificing value, if you will, by going with whatever that one partner already picked. But again, both are true, but I definitely see a shorter term value for the current solution provider.
But I think that's where the strategy absolutely is required, to JP's point before, right? As an organization, you need to take the time to basically say, what are we trying to answer for? What are we trying to achieve here? And then you can start working backwards, so if you're really trying to go within a box, yes, using the out of the box, Qualtrics, Medallia, whatever tools that exist, absolutely. But then how does it integrate, with your business data? How does it, integrate with your CS tools, right? So I think that's part of that MIT study that shows, we're expecting these like one-stop shop, solve it all solutions. And, there's still some tech debt that has to be accommodated for. So asking that question up front, what problems are we trying to solve? What work are we looking to do differently? And then working backwards from there, I think, Lisa, just to your question, I think is probably the very first step that is often overlooked.
Yes, and one of the things that Sean has mentioned time and again, and I'm going to bring it up here, is that the pace of change has accelerated so much. So even what may be best in class today may not be tomorrow. And we get sold on the quote unquote expert today, but this technology is changing as rapidly as our businesses change. And so it behooves an organization to have individuals who are curious about what applications exist, to get outside of their cultural bubbles, if you will, and figure out what works, and then bring that back to the organization to have a conversation. My experiences when the CIO said, this is a tool we're using and AI exists within the world of IT and the CIO and all that, of course, there's going to be a bias here, but that isn't necessarily what's needed, particularly when we need to move quickly. We can't always ask for that permission. So I think that's the challenge that we're seeing in a lot of our engagements and a lot of the businesses. So I appreciate that question. It's what's okay to use, whatever works, right? So.
Thank you. That helps a lot.
Yeah, no problem. So we're getting down to the wire here, and it seems like we're getting just warmed up here. But I did have a question that, again, something I want to throw out there around how do you, and this is really around the QA aspect. And I don't mean QA from a quality assurance perspective, but I mean QA in the sense of how do you know that your AI is doing what you expect it to do?
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Discussion than this may take us into bonus
question time. And the trick question is, did you ever define what you wanted your AI to do to begin with before you implemented it?
Hey, my goal was to implement it and do AI stuff.
Check box.
I think that we come back to what you say. If we have a strategy and we have clear goals about what we want to achieve, we need to measure the results we obtain from the AI tools against that strategy and those KPIs or goals. So that's one way to measure results.
Yeah.
Then there could be, I don't know, other goals in terms of the quality of content or the content that we use to reach our clients or customers. If that is a good content, the tone of that content is appropriate to communicate with them. So that could be another measure of the AI results.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm going to go back to two examples that were mentioned today. Chris gave an example of, hey, all of a sudden we've got a knowledge base that gives people the answer quicker. Well, so then the strategy is, okay, if we're getting 30% improvements, okay, we can now definitively say AI is helping us improve operations. I mean, like we begin with that end in mind, and then we prove it out. Or you can use same as our example around, okay, if this is an onboarding tool or this is something that helps the employee throughout their journey, should we see a drop in attrition or an improvement in employee retention? Like, these are the sort of things where we say, we don't just implement it. We now got to tie this back to the real world. Is it actually doing what we say it's going to do, or is it just a nice to have shiny object that gives us more of the same? The other thing I'd also ask is, if it doesn't work, who's the owner? And who's accountable ultimately if I'm seeing 95% failure rate, if that study is to be believed? Who owns that? And what do we do from it?
Success has many fathers and failure is an orphan.
That's right. That's right. So I think these are the tough questions we asked around culture and strategy to say, AI is great. It's a tool. Point of view is it going to be an enabler of success in an organization? But then the broader question is it doing what we think it can do, and can we assess that? Final thoughts or comments from the group or my panel? I'm gonna yield the floor to Tamar here. Any final thoughts?
No final thoughts. Just I know we're right at time, so maybe we should just thank everybody for showing up and
Absolutely.
participating today.
Absolutely. Was Matt able to join us? I want to yield the floor to Matt if he's able to join.
He was out more than he was on, so he would pop in every once in a while.
See, that it's because he didn't have AI. That's what it is. See, there's use case right there. Okay.
AI sabotaged him.
That's right.
He was going to have some bad things to say. So thanks everybody. We great conversation again. These are short. These are pretty quick hits. But remember, we meet 3 out of every 3 weeks at every month in these solution series, and they really are meant for you. So if you ever do have a hot topic, even if it's only tertiary to that group, bring it to these sessions, because they're called the solution series. So we want to provide kind of solutions that you're looking for in these as well. And they're meant to be bite-sized quick hits. The next meeting or the next content we're doing is next Wednesday, the 17th at 4:00 Eastern time is our experience exchange. And that is actually that's our monthly session. And this is where, we break into small groups and talk about some of these things. We work with, again, with what you're looking to talk about as well. But, so look forward to seeing you hopefully next Wednesday. If you're not a member of the collective, I just ask that you go to cxontherocks.com and join. Pretty soon, we're not going to always have stuff on the outside. Right now, we're kind of doing things via LinkedIn and the community, but you can do it. We're trying to actually build it in the community, so the community platform, so that you can really get access to it. And that's where the recordings are. Always, you can always catch the recordings in the platform if you're a member. So thanks for joining, JP, Tamar, Matt. Sorry you weren't able to be here with us, but we'll see you guys at the next event.
And don't just tell a friend, bring a friend with you. We'll see you soon.